You really self-made or is you cash apping? Doing everything you can to make the cash happen. These new niggas do a whole lot of backslapping. See you in without they help, then they golf clapping. No applause in my trophy hall. I'm still focused on the goal and I was hanging on the walls. Listen, all I need is a sports channel and a glass of...
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Thank you for downloading. And thank you for subscribing to the latest edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I am 12 Kyle. Check this out. What you just heard was an excerpt from a song from the group Little Brother. And at the end of the rapper Big Pooh's verse, he said, I'm still focused on the goal and not what's hanging on the wall. That was from Black Magic. And that stood out to me the other day when I was riding in the car. And I mean, I've heard that song 1,000 times, but it stood out to me because when he said, I'm still focused on the goal and not what's hanging on the wall. And it made me think about like my college degree, because most people, you know, when they graduate from college, they get their degree and they frame it and they hang it up on the wall for everyone to see. And it's such a sight to see. And it's usually in the front part of their house or someplace where, you know, it's visible, where everybody can see it. And, you know, it's a thing, right? And just hearing that part of that verse, which is on a really, really dope album by Little Brother called May the Lord Watch. Go check that out if you haven't already. It's my joint. And like I said, that song's been out since 2019 when the album came out. And I've heard the song a gazillion times, but that particular bar made me think about my college degree. And when he said not what's hanging on the wall, it dawned on me at that moment that the college degree that I earned, that I fought so hard for, I graduated with a marketing degree from the illustrious South Carolina State University. It's a historically black college and university that is located in the city of Orangeburg in the state of South Carolina. That degree that I earned is not on my wall at all. And it wasn't until I heard that verse, like, my degree isn't on the wall. Like, and it's weird because it's like, if you come in my house, and I'm sure many of you have seen my YouTube videos or whatever, if you come into my office, you'll see my jersey hanging up and you'll see pictures hanging up, but you don't see my degree. And it's not by design. Here's the funny thing. Okay, I have a degree in marketing. My wife has a degree in accounting. She also graduated from South Carolina State University as well. She graduated in 1999. I graduated in 1996. Our oldest son, Dion, he graduated from Alabama A&M University. And he is currently in school getting his master's. My wife also has a master's degree. So between my undergraduate degree, my wife's undergraduate and master's degree, and my oldest son's undergraduate degree, there are no degrees hanging on any of the walls in this house. And I really can't tell you why. And again, they've got, Dion's on his way to his second. Sharice has her first. She has an undergraduate and her master's. I have an undergraduate degree. I'm probably never going to get a master's because I don't need one. Well, you know what? Here's a funny thing. Like, there was a point where I really was going to go back to school and get it. And then I got in the field of chasing money. And the path that I took, honestly, I just didn't need a degree to get, well, here's the thing. What I figured that was if I got the degree, it wasn't going to earn me any more money, if that makes sense, in the field in which I was. So, I was like, it probably would end up costing me more than it would benefiting me. So I just didn't go get it. And I'm cool with it now because I don't need it. I'm good. And it just, that whole bar got me to thinking about, like, here we are, my wife and I, again, we met in college. So we're big on education, and we've preached education to our children. And, our second son is currently in undergrad right now in school. And so we've got one in grad school, one in undergrad, and one in high school and one in middle school. And, so our son's in high school and our daughter that's in middle school, we want them to go to college. And so we feel like college is important. But do you really need a college degree? I guess that's what I'm getting at. That is a very loaded question. And I'll say this. At the time that I graduated from high school, I graduated from high school in 1991. That's right. I'm old and washed. But at that time, like, you needed an undergraduate at the very least to quote unquote get a good job, close quote. I mean, you could get by with a high school diploma, but if you wanted to make the big bucks, at least that's what they told us. If you want to make the big bucks, you had to go to college. So you had to get a degree. And so, like, from the time I probably was in the 7th or 8th grade, like, my focus became going to college. Like, I wanted to go to college. I didn't, for as great as the 4 years of high school was for me, my focus was to get to college and experience what, Dwayne and Ron Johnson and Whitley were experiencing on a different world. Because I made it very clear and very early that I wanted to go to a historically black college and university and HBCU. I wasn't interested in going to, any PWIs or white schools, whatever you want to call them. I'm from South Carolina, so no, I didn't want to go to Clemson. I didn't want to go to University of South Carolina. I didn't want to go anywhere other than an HBCU. But that's not the point. Here it is. We stress education to our children. We demand excellence in the classroom, because our and the only reason why we demand excellence from our children in the classroom is because we have 4 very intelligent children, very smart, very sharp, each of them in their own very little ways. Like, they are very, very productive when it comes to, their schoolwork. And it's been that way from day one. So, like, we not cool with you bringing home a C. No, that ain't gonna happen. You got to get A's and B's. And be honest, I don't really want to see a whole bunch of B's if we're being honest. It's because these kids are so far ahead. And I mean, like, they've gone to some of the best schools in our region and in our county. So, like, no, I expect them to do and produce successfully because that's what they're capable of. And I've told them that. And I mean, like, no, I don't expect them to get like hundreds in every class, but no, I expect you to do your best. And here's the thing that I tell my kids, I expect you to do your best. And if you do your best, you're going to have good grades because you're just that type of student. Period. We don't go for anything less than their best effort. Now, do they give you your best effort every time? No. I mean, who does? But at the same time, we're on them about that. So, college is something that we stress. So again, it goes back to the question, do you really need a college degree? For me, college was someplace that I wanted to be, and it was very important to me. Why do you ask? Because I was always told that if you wanted to get a good job, then you needed to go to college, period. So I didn't want to be a bum. I didn't want to be stuck on the streets. I didn't want to, not be doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So it was no brainer for me. Like, it was something that I had to do. And then, once I got there, I knew how and what I wanted to do and where I wanted to go. I didn't think they would take me on the paths that it's taken me, but I knew that it was something that was, right up my alley. What's interesting is I told you at the beginning that I have a degree in marketing. Funny thing is, I've never had a marketing job. Let me just back that up. Okay, sales is a part of marketing. So I've had sales jobs, but having the idea of working on Madison Avenue in New York City, having a corner office in a high-rise building, working as a marketing executive, which are the dreams that I had, never happened. I've had sales jobs. I've never had a marketing job, but I have a marketing degree. And the thing that I will say is that the marketing degree allowed me to enter doors. The degree allowed me to enter doors and be interviewed because they knew that, one, I was someone who was dedicated to, stick it out for the years that I was in school to get the degree. And then on top of that, I played football. So I played football the entire time that I was in school. So what that lets a potential employer know is that, hey, not only is this person dedicated towards, or was dedicated towards getting the degree, but they're also dedicated towards, being able to balance the life of an athlete and a student. So no, I've never worked a job. I've never worked a marketing job. That doesn't mean that I'm incapable of marketing something. I mean, I market this podcast pretty good, I think. And I sell myself and sell this pie. And obviously you have to sell yourself in interviews. So to say I don't know the concepts of marketing is preposterous. I still got all my books. I still have a working knowledge of the stuff that I learned in school, but I don't have the marketing executive job. I would have loved to have been the VP of marketing for Nike, but it just didn't happen, So does the degree matter? It does. There's pros and cons to everything. And here's the thing that I want people to understand is that the landscape of the workplace has changed from 1996 when I graduated to 2023, right? At the time of this recording. Back then it was an instant justify means. Like, if you did not have a college degree, the likelihood of you making, quote unquote good money wasn't going to happen. I mean, it just wasn't, unless you knew somebody in a company or something where you could, start in the mailroom and and work your way up. And I think even then, at some point, depending on who you were, who you knew, you weren't going to move up unless you had a degree. But no, there's pros and cons to everything. I think particularly now, the con of going to college is you learn so much about yourself. You learn so much about your skill set. You learn so much and have so much growth. I tell anybody, and I've said it before in this podcast, and I will say it until I'm no longer here. The 5.5 years that I spent at South Carolina State University were the best 5 years of my life. I wish I could get in a time machine and go back. I would go back tomorrow I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm having fun now. I love life now, but it's a different kind of fun and it's a different kind of love. It's just, it is what it is. Um, but yeah, if you go to college, I mean, like you can get right to it. You know, you learn so much about yourself in that time that you're in college. I think that's invaluable, as opposed to graduating from high school and kind of, you know, figuring things out or finding which way. And some people, honestly, they need to take that time. Some people need that break. Some kids need a gap year to kind of figure things out. Some kids need a break from school, period. So I get it. I wasn't one of those kids. I had to go. And plus, I didn't want to be in. I didn't want to be in Florence, my hometown. I didn't. I mean, I outgrown the place, and I was like, the day that I left for college, I knew that I would never live in Florence again. You know, and at least not until I was old. I had no plans on coming back. I mean, obviously, I came back for vacation, and I came back for, you know, spring break and stuff like that. But like after graduation, I did not move back home. I moved to Atlanta, and that was it. So, but that's a con. That's you know, one of the pros is not con. I'm sorry. One of the pros is like you can just get right to it. You can learn and develop about yourself. You know, the flip side of it is that, you know, nowadays you don't necessarily have to have a degree to make money. I mean, like, if you could do something, if you had a skill set like coding or being some type of influencer on social media, on YouTube. I mean, it's people that there are kids, literally gamers, people like that make more money than you and I both. I mean, of course, they don't make as much money as Eclectic or King Germ, but you know, nobody does. I mean, maybe Bill Gates or somebody like that, but that's another story for another day. Shout out to E and King Germ. But yeah, I mean, like getting a non-traditional job, like a YouTube or a coder or a mechanic or something like that. I mean, like, you know, there's benefits in that. And the thing about that is that you can get right to those fields right now. You don't have to wait, you know, because if you go to college, you're going to have to wait a while before you can really get into your field or whatever it is that you're trying to do. If you're a chemical engineer, you know, you got to go to school for 4 years and get that degree before you can before you can go be a chemical engineer. And then sometimes you may have to go someplace before you actually get into the field to prove yourself. It just depends. You know, and then another thing too is that you avoid if you don't go to college, you avoid the college costs. You don't need me to tell you that college is expensive as hell. Tuition prices are higher than the 747 right now. And guess what? They're only going up. So, you know, you're going to have a generation of kids who will finish college and they're going to have to make 70, 80,000 coming out of school because they got $80,000 worth of debt, student loans. And trust me now, you know, I don't know how it is at most people, but like, no, when I came out of school in 1996, we weren't making 70, 80 grand a year, 100,000 a year. There are kids that come out of college that can make that depending on the field that you're in. I wasn't that fortunate. I think my first job was the job that I got at Champ Sports in Atlanta at Lenox Mall, and I made $24,000, which is only $2,000 more than what I'm making now. So, but yeah, so I mean, like times have changed. Times have definitely changed. One of the things about going to college is that you actually get to experience, you know, being adult and being on your own. I mean, I think that's personally, I can't speak for anybody else. Personally, I think that's invaluable. I don't know that there's no other place that you can be where you can just learn who you are and what it is you can and can't do. Because like, here's the thing. When you're in college, you're gonna bump your head. You're gonna bump your head. You're gonna have, you're gonna make mistakes. But I think that's usually the best time to make the mistakes when you're 20, 21, 22 years old. I mean, because for most people, when you're that age, you don't have any responsibilities. You probably aren't a parent yet. You probably don't have a house yet. You probably don't have a car that you bought on your own money that you're financing yet. So, it's a lot of things that are in your favor. And so it's just you. So any mistakes that you made, you're only affecting yourself. Now, it can also be a scary time because, if you can't figure things out, you could be postponing your step into the world. And, once you're in the world, you're in the world. And you got to figure these things out. And it's funny because I tell my sons this all the time. Like, you have to figure it out. Like, we're here to help guide you. I'm definitely here to help guide you. I'm 1000% down to guide you. And I have a lot of answers. I don't have all the answers. Some of the answers you have to find within. And, when you're in school, that's honestly, it's the best place to be when you're trying to figure things out, when you're trying to figure out where you want to go with your life. And it can be a scary proposition because there are some kids who go through 4 years, 5 years, some 6 years, some 7 years. And they walk across that stage and they still don't know what they want to do. And that's okay. It happens. But that's the place. I used to hear that all the time when we were in school. College is the best place to be when you don't know what it is that you want to do. Because regardless of whether or not you know this or not, when you're in college, you're taking a step forward. You're constantly taking steps. You're taking, even though it doesn't feel like it, you're constantly putting one foot in front of the other. Now, if you're at home on mom's couch, you're probably not moving. Or maybe you're taking steps, but they're baby steps. In fact, you may be crawling. And again, I'm not saying that college is for everybody because I'm a firm believer and I've seen it from my own two eyes. College ain't for everybody. I went to school with a lot of people who were just there to piss off their moms and dads' money. And that's exactly what they did. And guess what? They weren't there for long. They were straight NFL, not for long. And so, I think one of the great things about being in college too is that you get a chance to enjoy the days of being broke and having fun. Listen, I tell people all the time, I've never been that broke before in my life and had that much fun. I've never had $20 and $20 felt like $100,000. I mean, look, and $20 could, I've done a podcast and $20 would last me like forever. And so like most of us that go to college, you are broke. You will never be that broke again in your whole life because you'll have a job and you'll have debt and you may have a wife or husband, or you may have a kid or two, or a car or a house note, credit cards, whatever the case may be. But college, that's the time to have fun and be broke. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, it's no fun being broke. No, it's not fun being broke. But here's the thing. You learn how to manage your brokenness. And the cool part about it is that almost everybody around you, they're broke too. So it's not like, you're hanging around people with a bunch of money. No, they got probably just as much as you do, maybe less. Who knows? So that's definitely one of the benefits of it. And then, one thing about college too is that, you have a lifelong memories and, lifelong friendships. My friendships and the memories that I have are invaluable. I've talked about many of them on this podcast. There are many more stories to be told. You've heard some of my friends on here. You've heard some of my teammates on here. You've heard my wife on here. And I mean, I met her in college. So, if I don't go to college, I'm definitely not marrying Sharice because she was in college. Our paths would have never crossed. And that's not to say I wouldn't have gotten married, but, I might have married. I might have not. If I hadn't gone to college, I might have married the chick that worked at the local steel mill. That's a funny thought. I just thought about that. Because I know a couple of chicks that worked at the local steel mill. But that's beside the point. But no, I mean, like, there's pros and cons. I don't want to. I would. It's not for everybody. So I began the podcast by asking, do you need a college degree? It depends. It really does. It depends on what it is that you want to do and where you want to go. If you're not going to college, have your future, or at least the next 5 to 10 years, planned and mapped out, at least what it is that you want to do, because those years, those college years, are invaluable years. You don't want to piss those years away. And, you know, quite honestly, I've seen, and I'm sure you all have seen, quite a few kids blow that, you know, those opportunities. And you can't afford to blow those opportunities, because you only get to be 22 once in your life, right? And the time between 22 and 32 is technically 10 years, but so much happens in those 10 years. So many life-changing experiences. And, you know, do you need a college degree to satisfy any needs or anything? Like, no, you don't need one. But it just depends on what it is that you want to do. So to answer the question, do you need a college degree? Maybe. Maybe not. I'm always a proponent for anybody that wants to go to college should go. And if you're black, I suggest that at the very least, you should look at an HBCU. But that's just me. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you for checking out this edition of the 12 Kyle podcast. I am your boy 12 Kyle. I'll catch you guys next time. 5,000.